You are confusing free throw practice with the big game. Your gratitude practice, your positivity practice, the intentional work you do to focus on the beauty in everyday life, that's free throw practice. The big game, when you're being tested, when life is throwing adversity at you, when there's pressure, when there's serious consequences on the line, that is not the time that you practice free throws. That's when all the practice that you either put in or didn't put in, it either pays off or it doesn't. Welcome to the Women Inspired Podcast, where together we explore ways to live our most joyful, aligned, vibrant lives. On this podcast, we draw inspiration from the lessons embedded in other women's stories, and we use them to catalyze our own growth and success. And we explore concepts and techniques from the fields of psychology and design thinking that can help us thrive and make the most of the one and only life we're ever going to have. My name is April Seifert. I'm a psychologist, an entrepreneur, and a self-proclaimed life experience junkie, and I'm your host and friend along this journey. This podcast is supported by Modern Well, a woman-centered co-opportunity workspace in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Friend, it is time to start living vibrantly, by design and with intention. Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast, to a very special Monday episode of the podcast. My name is April Seifert and I'm your host. And because I'm coming to you on a Monday, that means I'm going to be diving into a particular topic. So this episode is not an interview episode, but rather we are diving into what I think is an incredibly important topic. Now, let me tell you a little bit and give you a little bit of background about where this particular idea for this episode came from. I have a good friend who is an incredibly self-aware, dialed-in person, and she is one of those people whose Insta stories I try to catch on a fairly regular basis. And I was bebopping around Instagram one day, and I decided to watch her Insta story, and something she posted was a post about something called toxic positivity. And what this is essentially when people go to someone who might be in crisis or experiencing a mental health diagnosis or going through something difficult, and they say things like, "Why can't you just be happy? Why can't you just be positive? Or you just need to think positively." And this is toxic because it plays down the gravity of the situation that the person is in and the complexity of the situation that person is in. And the reason why that sparked this episode of the podcast is I started to go down sort of a rabbit hole with this, thinking about what toxic positivity is, where it came from, and how it manifests in our conversations, and how it can be confused for the work that we're doing within the Peak Mind Center to develop psychological strength. And in doing that, how people can not only miss out on an incredible opportunity to better themselves and improve their lives, but also potentially hurt other people in the process. So today, I want to dive into this notion of toxic positivity from the lens of talking about things that can masquerade as it. So gratitude practices and positivity practices and mindfulness practices, they can masquerade, or rather, toxic positivity can masquerade as them. And I specifically want to hit two key things that differentiate these practices from this post that my friend made. I'm not going to talk about who that person is, but she's an incredible person. And if you are listening, I just want to say thank you. I'm going to reach out to you and let you know that you were the one who inspired this episode. But I just want to say thank you because it is giving me the opportunity to talk about something, a nuance in this area that I think would be very easy to miss. Now, let's hit the first topic here. Toxic positivity asks people to basically pretend that everything is good, pretend that everything is happy, pretend that, you're grateful for the situation you're in. Pretend that everything that's going on is going well, and that the negative things that are happening, if you could just be happy, you could ignore those negative things that are happening. Now, it would be easy to see or to think that the field of positive psychology or the practices around developing psychological strength, they might on the surface sound like that, right? We ask people to use gratitude as a practice. Aren't you just pretending that everything is good and that you're grateful for everything? Not quite. Let's go a little bit back to unpack this notion. Let's go back and talk about how our mind evolved. Our mind evolved, one of its principal goals, the reason why our mind evolved as a species, is to keep us alive. That's it. To keep us breathing and alive. Now, there are some fundamentals that have allowed our mind to be successful, because it was, right? Yay, our species is here. Here we are. We're alive. This is great. There are some fundamentals that has allowed it to do this for us. And one of those is that things that are more likely to keep us alive tend to evolve first, and they tend to be more automatic. So let's go to the most obvious, your heart beating. One of the first areas of your brain to develop was the areas that control those, automatic biological responses like your heart beating. And they are automatic. If you had to think about making your heart beat every moment of the day, you would die as soon as you fell asleep because you wouldn't be thinking about it. There's a reason why they are very automatic. Now, there's sort of a secondary set of functions that developed a little bit after that, but still very, very old parts of our brain. And they aren't entirely automatic, but they're not completely within our awareness either. They sort of fall in a gray area. And these are the parts of our mind that look for threats. Now, think about this. Your brain was developed or evolved to keep you alive. The fewer threatening things that you encounter, the more likely you are to survive. Great. But what this means is that we have a very powerful part of our mind that operates largely outside of our awareness, that its whole job is to go around every day and look for threats. The amygdala. Let's go around every day and look for negative things that could kill us and threats that could kill us. I'm going to be looking for them. Now, we've talked about on prior episodes of the podcast how your mind is incredibly good at goal seeking. If you tell it what to look for, it's going to find it because it creates this powerful lens through which we see the world. And it filters in information that is related to our goal, and it filters out information that is not related to our goal. So if left to its own devices, and your mind is biased toward threats and negativity, and that's its goal, guess what it's going to find? So I hope you're seeing the point here that if left to its own devices, your mind is biased. Biased. It's not seeing reality for what it is. It's seeing reality through the lens of being a threatening, negative place, because that's what's going to keep you alive. So the field of positive psychology is not, the goal is not to pretend that everything is good. It's not to pretend that you're having a good time every moment of the day and ignore negative things and ignore that, hardship exists. That's not it. From this perspective, positive psychology says, hey, if left to your own devices, your mind is balanced or is biased. Let's try to balance it out. Let's try to balance out your thinking so that you're not just focusing on threats, because that's going to happen anyways. But the intentional side of this is to balance that scale out by looking for positivity, looking for gratitude, looking for beauty, things that balance the scale out against the habit that your mind already has. And we practice these things on a daily basis. This is why gratitude practices are so powerful, one of the most powerful tools that we have, Because the more you do it day in and day out, you're teaching your mind, it's getting a big dose of negativity because that's what it does on its own. And you are intentionally feeding it a big dose of positivity so your thinking balances. Do you get it? It's not that you're trying to focus only on the positive. It's that your brain is automatically focusing only on the negative. You're trying to balance it out. You're trying to carve a new habit and teach your mind not everything is negative. Some things are, but not everything is. There are positive things out there, and I want you to notice those too, in addition. So the negativity piece happens automatically. Positivity takes intention to do. And the example that I've given in the past is just out of the context of what we're talking about is, imagine you live in the place that you live and you work at the place that you work and you drive that way every single day. You drive from home to work, home to work, home to work every day. And then you get a new job. And at some point, maybe a couple weeks into your job, you find yourself leaving your house and driving the route to your old job. Right? It's happened to so many of us. You're driving the route to your old job because that is a habit. That's a mental habit that you have carved into your mind by doing it every single day. And when, your mind relaxes and is left to its own devices, it falls into that groove and falls into that habit that you intentionally carved by driving to your old job every single day. But now you want it to go down a different route. You want it to go down a different street. And it requires intention to carve that new habit, to get your mind to just drive you to your new job as, easily and as thoughtlessly as it did before to your old job. Similarly, we use these intentional gratitude practices and other things. I keep relying on that one because that's what everybody hears, in the mainstream media and other places. But we intentionally use those practices in order to send our mind down a slightly different path than where it would go normally. So the goal isn't to pretend everything is good. The goal is not to ignore difficulty and pain and struggle in life because those are life. Those are realistic. But the goal is to be less biased by balancing this crazy old part of our mind that formed so long ago, whose goal is to just keep us alive. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, part of what this post that my friend posted was getting at was when we talk to people who are going through a difficult time, say with depression, or they've recently experienced a divorce or experienced another loss of some sort. Maybe someone has passed away, or it could be something else, a job loss. In some way, that person is in some type of crisis or difficult period, and when you're in that position, people may feel this knee-jerk reaction to just tell you, you need to just look on the bright side. You need to just be happy. You need to just be positive, as though you should just ignore the negative, difficult situation that you're in. What I would say here, you are confusing free throw practice with the big game. Your gratitude practice, your positivity practice, the intentional work you do to focus on the beauty in everyday life, that's free throw practice. The big game, when you're being tested, when life is throwing adversity at you, when there's pressure, when there's serious consequences on the line, that is not the time that you practice free throws. That's when all the practice that you either put in or didn't put in, it either pays off or it doesn't. So think about that. If you focus on free throw practice, meaning you go to the gym and you practice that free throw over and over and over, is that the game? No, it's not. You're sitting in a gym by yourself throwing a ball at a hoop over and over and over. What you're doing is you're teaching your body, when I'm under pressure, when this is more difficult than it is in the context of where I'm at right now, I want you to respond the same way or in this direction. So when that basketball player gets into the big game, the NBA finals, when that basketball player gets into that game, their body reacts in the way that they trained it to react. It has muscle memory. It remembers what to do. That's what gratitude practice does for us. It's free throw practice for the big game. If you spend every day of your normal days, because let's face it, most of us, not all, but most of us go through the majority of our days not in crisis. They're just normal days. Those normal days are your opportunity to cultivate a more adaptive mental process and approach to handling life and adversity. Those are the days when you build psychological strength. Those are the days when you're in free throw practice for your mind. Those are the days that you do a gratitude practice. So, similar to a basketball player who's going to go and shoot free throws every single day to practice and build that new habit, you're doing a gratitude practice every single morning to practice and build a new habit so that when life throws a test at you, so that when someone dies, you experience adversity of another type, you've already put in the hard work to train your mind to be more adaptive. It doesn't work to shoot free throws during the game. So saying, you're in crisis, you should just be positive. That's like telling someone in the NBA Finals, why don't you take a few practice free throws at that before you do it for real? That's dumb. That's not how it works. That's not how this works either. Your practice happens outside of the test. Your practice happens on those normal, everyday days where you're not in crisis and you're not being tested. So you're trying to, the point is not to try to make light of or deny the difficulty of what are truly testing times for all of us, and that every single one of us will experience. The point is to do these practices to set yourself up to stay mindful when it happens, to thrive through that adversity. What this means is that when you're tested, your mind has a tendency to ruminate. It has a tendency to go down an anxious spiral and to go on a feedback loop of repeating those anxious thoughts. I'm not going to say this will stop it completely for you, but if you're doing this practice day in and day out, it should lessen that tendency of your mind to ruminate. Ruminating and anxiety does not help any situation, but lessening it may help you thrive through that testing time. That's what building psychological strength means. It means free throw practice, not trying to fit it in the big game. You do that before you're tested. Now, I want to throw in one third thing. Like I said I was going to talk about two things, but I'm going to throw in a third one before I end this episode. And that's this. Just a little note on the normal days. I mentioned not everyone, but most of us. Most of our days are just normal days. We're not in crisis. They're also not the best day of our life. They're just normal. We go to work. We make dinner. We take a shower. Maybe we go to the gym. I don't know. We do normal things. Your mind is setting you up to survive those days. What if, just for funsies, we flirt with the idea that those days could be so much more than just you surviving? What if these same practices that would help you thrive through adversity would help you thrive on those normal days? Those normal days where you're not being tested. Those normal days where you can choose to have balanced thinking until that balanced thinking is more automatic. And doing that is only going to help those normal days feel all that more aligned, all that more vibrant, all that more incredible, because you will have put this practice that is meant to help you through adverse times to work on a day when you're not experiencing adversity. It's incredibly powerful, and I encourage all of you to try it. There's one practice that I ask everyone to do, and I'm gonna leave this with you as we close out this episode. One practice that I ask people to do that will absolutely change the way that your mind works. You will feel like a different person after a couple of weeks. Every single day, I want you to take a photo of something beautiful, and I want you to post it on social media. That's it. At some point during the day, you have to find one beautiful thing. You can loosely define beautiful. Find one beautiful thing and post it on social media. By doing that, what you're doing is at some point your brain will catch on and it'll realize, she's going to make me find something by the end of the day. I might as well start looking now because I'm going to have to find it by the end of the day. I'm just going to save myself some time. I'm going to start looking now. Think about how much different your day will feel when your mind is oriented toward the goal of finding something beautiful, not freaking out at every threat. It's a totally different lens through which you can choose to live. And these are the people I'm talking to right now are the people who are experiencing just normal days, not the people who are in crisis right now. For the people who are in crisis right now, self-compassion. You are doing the best that you can with the situation that you have. That's all you can ask of yourself. You don't have to pretend that everything's positive. You don't have to pretend that you're okay if you're not. Reach out, ask for help, get a support system around you of people you love and trust. But for people who are not in that situation, people who are experiencing just normal days right now, set yourself up to be as successful as you possibly can. Build psychological strength now. Now is absolutely the time. If you want more resources on this, this is exactly what we're working on within Peak Mind, the Center for Psychological Strength. Ashley and I are literally day in and day out combing our literature and combing our libraries to find the best of the best resources to bring to you to help you cultivate psychological strength for yourself. If you want to know what we're up to, you can head over to peakmindpsychology.com. We have free resources. We have paid stuff there. Like you name it, there is a resource for you over there. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear about the things that you're experiencing that might be challenging so that we can create content that helps in those areas. All right. Before I close this out, I want to say thank you one more time to my incredible friend with the incredible post that sparked this episode. Again, the goal is not to pretend everything is good. The goal is to balance your thinking so that you are less biased than your reptilian brain will allow you to be on its own. And do not confuse free throw practice with the NBA Finals. Your gratitude practice is exactly that. It's a practice. It's a practice for the big game when life is going to test you. Use those normal days, those days when nothing notably bad is happening, use those to cultivate psychological strength. You will thrive in your life. It will feel markedly different. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I'm so excited for more amazing interviews and amazing content to come. And I want to hear from you. Reach out. Shoot me a note shoot me a review or a rating on iTunes. Shoot me a note through my website. I want to hear from you. I love the emails and I love the messages I get from you guys. DM me on social. I'm so easy to find online. Reach out. I want to hear what I can do to help you cultivate your own psychological strength and thrive in your own life. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye, guys. Before we close out today, I want to say thank you to my producer, Cameron Hill, and to my incredible sponsor, Modern Well. If you want to learn more about how you can reach your goals in a one-of-a-kind work-life community, visit www.modernwell.co. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit from this inspiring message. And if you have a moment, click the link in the episode description to leave me a rating and a review on iTunes. It would mean so much to me. Finally, I want to remind you that it is absolutely possible to live a happy, fulfilling life, even in spite of all of the chaos and demands we all experience. Sign up at aprilseifert.com to gain access to tools that will help you do just that. I have carefully created and curated a set of tools that combine the powerful fields of psychology and design thinking to help you intentionally create a fulfilling, happy life you love. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and until next week, stay inspired.